If you talk all the time, you'll never hear what anybody else has to say. The same is true for people who think all the time. And just as you have to stop talking to hear what others have to say, you have to stop thinking to find out what life is about. And the moment you stop thinking, you become into immediate contact with the unspeakable world, the most ordinary sights and sounds, smells, the texture of shadows on the floor in front of you. All these things without being named and saying, that's a shadow, that's red, that's brown, that's somebody's foot. When you don't name things any longer, you start seeing them. And it is only through stopping, fixing conceptions on the world of color and sound that you really begin to hear it and see it.
It is possible to make Sony A6000 footage cinematic, and in this video I will tell you 3 things which you can do to make that footage more cinematic. Number 1 is the gear that you use, number 2 is the settings, and number 3 is a story. Regarding the gear, actually you need just a few things, I would say 4 things. Sony A6000 camera, obviously that's number 1. A lens is a number 2, and I personally like to make the videos with prime lenses, something like Sigma 30mm or 56mm. Also my favorite is Sony 85mm, but that's really cropped in, as you can see. But you know, it makes the video look really cool. However, if you don't want to spend the money on a couple of lenses, you should be getting one zoom lens. I would be suggesting an all-around, something like a Tamron 17 to 70 f2.8 or Sigma 18 to 50, or even the Sony's 18 to 105 f4 lens, because they're really nice lenses to capture the videos in a cinematic way, and will definitely help you make this content pretty good and cinematic. So obviously the lens and the camera is not everything, especially A6000 is a little bit limited in its features. It doesn't have in-body image stabilization, so I highly recommend you to get a gimbal, and they don't have to be expensive or really big gimbals. It can be really small, something like DJI RSC, or even something like Feiyutech Scorp Mini. Those are perfect gimbals for small mirrorless cameras that will definitely help you stabilize the footage and not have that shake, especially if you use longer lenses, something like a 50 or 85mm on your Sony A6000. And the last thing on the gear list is good variable ND filter. My favorites are the Freewell, because they are magnetic and you can change the filters from, you know, like 2 to 5 stops and 4 to 9 or whatever. It's just really good way to control the light that comes in your camera. Regarding the settings, I mean, it's actually quite simple, and let me show you. So first of all, make sure that your camera is in a movie mode. That's the most important thing. From there on, all the settings are quite simple. Aspect ratio, I put to 3:2. File format, very important. I choose XAVC-S because that gives one of the best qualities. From there on, I usually shoot in 60 frames per second because that allows me to slow down the footage. Focus mode, usually I leave it to continuous autofocus unless there is something that I want to focus on particularly. Then I switch to manual focus. Focus area, usually as well, either wide or the zone, in order to help the camera focus in some particular place. Rest of the settings, the driving speed for autofocus and track duration, either I switch to normal or fast, depending if I really want the camera to track the autofocus much quicker than it's needed. Usually I leave it to normal. ISO I try to keep as low as possible, especially when I'm shooting in a sunny day. And then add all the other settings, metering mode, white balance to auto. Creative style, I leave it to standard because I do some editing later in Adobe Premiere Pro. There are no picture profiles for this camera, so there's not going to be much you can do with the color grading, so that's why it's kind of a little bit better for you to leave it on zeros here, and you can add sharpness and everything after that in the post-production. Besides that, one important thing is to have a manual exposure in the movie. because you want to control the light and control the settings yourself instead of letting the camera do it. There are a couple of helper things where you can add some zebras and other things, but that really doesn't help you make the footage cinematic. So I would say the 60 frames per second and the file format are the things that, in my opinion, are one of the most important ones. And from there on, here is really important settings. So the 180-degree rule is the second important thing. So if you're shooting at 60 frames per second, then you want to have your shutter speed double. In this case, I'm at 125th of a second. If you would be shooting at 24 frames per second, then you would set it to 50. F-stop, you choose whatever you want, whatever look you want to achieve. Obviously, if you're going to be having shallower depth of field in the prime lenses, then you can have the background nice and blurry. You can also stop it down to have more things in the focus, but then of course remember that the footage is going to get darker. As I said, ISO I'm trying to keep as low as possible, and if there is too much light in the footage, then I am simply adjusting that with the ND filter. And I think that's about it regarding the settings. Guys, and the last part is storytelling. I think that is one of the most difficult and also the most important parts of all of this, because if you have a really good story and it's well planned and well made, then you can sort of get away with a little bit of, you know, poorer quality, because you can see older movies didn't have amazing quality, but they're still really good, amazing cinematic movies. Nevertheless, there are lots of tips about making stories. I'm not going to go into the details, but I just want to mention to you that it's really important that you think about what kind of things, what kind of story you want to convey to the viewers, what do you want to tell, and what you want to show with your shots, not just random pieces of footage, you know, stick together. And there is actually one more thing, is the settings of your timeline in your editing software as well as export settings. But actually I have covered it in one of my previous videos. I will link it down below in the description. So definitely go check it out so you get the most quality out of your cinematic footage. And if you post it anywhere online, for example, Instagram, tag me so I can see what kind of work you do, and I can just check out your footage. That's it, guys. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions down below in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next video very soon. Bye.